Telstra's 1.6 million shareholders have put the final piece in place for the government's broadband network, voting overwhelmingly to surrender the telco's lucrative fixed-line monopoly to the NBN. For the first time, it means Telstra will have to compete on a level playing field against fast-growing competitors. All the players are grappling to deal with rapidly changing technology, and many analysts say Telstra dominance is no longer guaranteed. Here's Greg Hoy.
It is a colourful new world, isn't it?
The biggest sales and marketing organisation in Australia is flexing its muscles. With 550 marketing staff at a $250 million budget, Telstra was already promoting its whole new look, well before many of its 1.6 million shareholders gathered today for their historic vote on severing and selling off to the NBN for $11 billion, the giant telco's 110-year-old and highly profitable monopoly in fixed-line telecommunications.
I'll be voting in favour.
I'm against it.
The vote divided loyal shareholders like Richard Cale of Sydney and Yvonne Curran of Brisbane, who's battling a debilitating eye disease.
I feel as if we're all going to be voting blindly. We don't know enough, and this $11 billion deal or whatever it is hasn't even been passed by the ACCC yet.
The point is, having crunched all of the numbers, looking at the alternatives, Telstra is going to come out in front financially.
Indeed, Telstra's management was confident shareholders would endorse the deal, telling them the ACCC approval was likely next month and Telstra and its shareholders would be $4.7 billion better off by selling infrastructure to, rather than competing with, the National Broadband Network.
We also believe that the proposed transaction protects shareholders under the current government policy, and very important in terms of any future government policy changes.
It's a big question for Telstra shareholders. What happens if the federal opposition wins government and makes good on its pledge to wind back the NBN? CEO David Thodey is relaxed with the termination clauses the Telstra team has negotiated, and he's been hinting in recent days such threats are easier for the opposition to make than to make good on.
Look, I think there's obviously legislation has been passed, and they will have to work within that legislation or change legislation, and therefore to change legislation would take quite a long time to do it.
Especially with the Greens holding the balance of power in the Senate.
If the opposition comes to government and tries to rip apart the NBN half-built, that will be a colossal destruction of taxpayers' investment, and we will do what we can to make sure that that doesn't happen. This is a network that's being rolled out in the public interest.
Assuming that the NBN is going to go ahead, I'm not convinced it will. I don't know that it's going to be that competitive.
No question the political battle over the NBN has left lingering doubts in the minds of shareholders and others.
I'm still a bit worried about the cost to the taxpayers eventually with NBN, and how many people will be able to afford to get connected.
I don't think the entry price is going to significantly change at all.
But if the NBN didn't go ahead, David Thodey has assured shareholders, Telstra will be more than happy to revert to its old and very profitable wholesale fixed-line monopoly.
Even if something does happen to NBN, the demise of NBN eventually, if it goes pear-shaped, they'll still be better off. They'll be laughing all the way to the bank.
Telstra shareholders, I've heard the current deal proposed as a windfall. I don't think it's quite that generous. It'll leave Telstra in a position essentially of incumbency in the retail market, but we're going to see a lot more competition. I think that's going to be good for everybody.
Telecommunications analysts aren't convinced greater competition will be so great for Telstra once it loses its great advantage of owning wholesale infrastructure.
There will be new players that come in from overseas that are delivering different types of services successfully in other markets that will see Australia as a worthwhile opportunity now.
So can Telstra maintain its dominance in this new world?
They've sold the crown jewels and now they're, they can do really well or they can fall flat on their face. We don't know.
Traditionally, basic telephone services have delivered very high margins to Telstra, and as a part of the NBN process, they will lose those margins. I think in a competitive market, their future is never going to be secure.
Though it intends to invest the NBN cash in new businesses like media content and IT service delivery. Even if some money is inevitably returned to shareholders, analysts fear Telstra's investment record isn't all that flash. Telstra today countered that its old fixed-line business had been shrinking anyway, while opportunities online are growing exponentially.
Data traffic on our networks doubled in 2011 and is projected to increase 30-fold within 5 years and 1,000-fold within 10 years.
Welcome to Telstra, this is David speaking.
But knowing the new wave of competition coming, Telstra executives have been forced to repair relations with disillusioned customers. This is the new look Telstra, but is it a good time for Telstra shareholders to cut and run?
It's by no means coming into this fight without any weapons. It's still in quite a strong position.
If Telstra doesn't get the strategy right, they could lose a lot too. There's been many, many examples of incumbent operators trying to move into IT services and have failed.
I just hope whatever the outcome is, obviously I'm only one person, that it will be a good outcome. I'll just keep my fingers crossed.
Greg Hoy reporting.